all ladies here together. I'm here woman in career with a clothing line and a lifestyle brand that seeks to uplift and inspire everyone we have the privilege of connecting with. Tonight, our panelists are amazing, but before we get to that, make sure you share this broadcast and we want to hear from you. So, not only do we want you to tune in, but we want you to join the conversation. Let's get to our fabulous panelists for the evening. So they're going to introduce themselves and then we're going to get right into these topics. Jada, talk to the people.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jada Jackson. I am 22 years old. I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. I am an academic interventionist at my local school. I teach special kids with accommodations and disabilities. And I am married to my awesome best friend, Minister Greg Jackson.
Thank you so much for being here, Jada. And thank you for the amazing work that you do because it definitely takes somebody called to not only deal with education, but to deal with those special parts. So thank you
Yeah,
and thank you for being here.
you're welcome.
Lise.
Hi everyone, my name is Lis. I am a lifestyle blogger and content creator. I currently live in New York City and I am a newlywed. I only been married for like
Congratulations.
maybe 100 days. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm just out here growing and glowing.
So excited to have you. I'll tell a brief story. We were supposed to have her on like a month ago, but it was my bad that I didn't get out the information to her. But I am so excited to have her on. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And our return guest, Miss Keisha.
Hey everybody, I'm Kisha Reed. I have a storytelling platform where I blog, and I recently just accumulated some clients to do some branding and production. And I also have an aromatherapy candle line that launched a couple months ago.
Congratulations on your clients and on your
Thank you.
aromatherapy, which you all will see a little bit more about later in the show. Thank you for being here, Keisha. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, let's jump right on into our topics for the evening. So, most of you know Chrissy Teigen and John Legend well, let me say Chrissy Teigen. She is very active on social media, right? She shares mostly everything. And recently, her and her husband, John Legend, they lost a baby. And a lot of people were saying that that was an overshare. Now, I I'm not exactly sure how I feel. Well, I am, but we'll get to that in a minute. But what do you all ladies think? Do you think it was too much to share the fact that they lost a baby?
I don't think it was too much at all, but I get why some people would say that. I think transparency is just kind of lost in this world right now. So
Hmm.
when a lot of people are sharing those darker things, then some people probably give a side eye to it, but I think that took a lot of courage. I also thought it was very brave to talk about because it happens so often. Like someone close to
Yes.
me experienced that very same thing this year. So I thought it was brave for them to come out, and people that have gone through that know that one, no one's exempt from it, and two, it's not just them. So I thought it was brave more than anything.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Keisha. I feel like if they didn't share, then some people would have had a problem with that. They did share, people have a problem. But at the end of the day, you have to do what works for you. Like they had to do whatever is going to help them cope. And maybe that was just a part of their process. And I think that they also make other women and other families who've gone through that, they make them feel like they're not alone, like you said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jada, what do you think? Do you think that was an overshare?
I definitely don't think that they overshared it because I really agree with what both of you ladies said because basically like their story can help another woman out there, and I don't believe that there is a such thing as oversharing something like that, because you never know what a person is going through, and someone's
Absolutely.
story can always help another person. And basically, like, they just didn't try to hide anything. Like, they were honest with the people, and some people feel
Hmm.
like, oh, celebrities, they don't go through anything, but they actually do. Like, celebrities go through a lot,
Absolutely.
sometimes a lot more than we go through in a daily lifestyle. But I thought it
Yeah.
was very brave of them to share that part of their life.
For
Yeah, and I
sure.
agree with you. And to Keisha's point, um, sometimes people can feel like celebrities have this, cushioned life, and certain things just don't really apply to them. And back in the day, I mean, things have changed so much. People share everything now, but there was a time in Hollywood where you couldn't even be pregnant, right? You didn't even
Right.
know if an actress had children, because when she got pregnant, she was, whisked away, and no pictures were taken or anything like that. But I think it's important because you can find support um, through these types of posts and things like that. And I also had someone, Keisha, that I knew this year who lost a baby. And the flood of support that she received, I feel like, I'm not saying that she wouldn't have felt supported otherwise, but I think it helped to get more support than just your family or your
Yeah.
husband, right? Because those people right around you are experiencing this as well. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to get some comfort and support from people who are a little detached from it, who can pray for you from the outside looking in.
Hmm.
But if you had to pick a subject or pick a thing that you would consider be oversharing, what would you consider something that would cross the line?
So my mind automatically went to bedroom stuff, and that's what's so
Okay.
interesting about our culture, though, because had they shared like, "Oh, we're swingers," and had Rihanna in here last night, overshare would have not been a word that
It would have
came up
been
at
fine.
all.
Right.
And I think stuff like that, I'm like, I need to know your
I
business
didn't
that
even know
much.
that.
Ba-
Exactly. So
Definitely.
bedroom stuff is definitely an overshare. Lise, Jada, what do you think is an overshare?
I don't even know because I feel like now we talk about everything. Like there
Hmm.
Right.
is a niche for everything.
Yeah,
And um,
that's true.
I just feel like things that used to be a taboo, they aren't even taboos anymore. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Jada,
like,
what do you think?
that's very accurate. Like, our, like, how they, like, basically our culture, like, they just have become so comfortable with just like
Hmm.
oversharing a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
some stuff I come across and I find out that like people have basically shared, and I kind of like look at that like,
Hi.
why are you putting, like, why are you putting your business out there? Like,
Right.
but
Well,
then
and
you get upset. People get upset when you have people all in the comments asking these questions, but you put your business out there.
right,
Like,
Right.
you put that out there for the people to see. So you can't get upset when people come back and ask questions.
right.
Absolutely.
The thing about that is there's so much clout in that too. Like the overshare, when it's something like
That's
juicy,
true.
because nobody want to hear the deep details that's like real life. If it's like
Right.
Mhm.
good tea, oh, it's not only will you blow up a little bit, your story will be everywhere. So that's like the opportune time to release something else. So it's so
Yeah.
much strategy behind that. And I'm all for transparency, but I do think something should be left to the imagination or just left to your partner. But
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And to Jada's point, you know, people, I don't want to say overshare because I can't determine what's an overshare for somebody, right?
Mhm.
But,
that's a good point. Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
will let me stop. Overshare is just in my mind. They will share a lot. Okay. So then when we see, if somebody shares about their marriage a lot or about their home a lot or whatever, and then we see a shift in post, we ain't seen the husband in 6 weeks. And people like, yo, everything all right in y'all's marriage? And people are upset that you're asking. But
Right.
if we share those types of things frequently, do you all think people have the right to inquire about a change
I think
in your situation?
that is so tricky because especially when you have impact and you have influence, when you
Hmm.
choose to like open things up to people, you
Right.
get invested. So you can't really
Hmm.
be mad when they now
Right.
have questions or concerns or when they show
Yeah.
you that they're invested.
Right. Like
Absolutely.
that's a that's a really great point, Liz, because I do think about people that are like influencers and like bloggers. Like I'm an upcoming faith influencer and like I'm
Hmm.
trying to go into being a professional blogger. And it's just like in order to do that, like you have to like I guess basically you have to be open with your audience. Like they
Yeah.
have
Hmm.
to get to know you in order to know you. So it's just like you can't really get mad, but a part of it is like, okay, what stuff are you gonna share with them and what stuff are you
Right.
gonna keep to
Exactly.
yourself?
Mhm.
Right.
Because like I think about when I look at Liz page, like I love her page. I could tell like she posts like really great content and she's married and she loves to shop, you know, she loves to blog, but it's also like I also know Liz would not post like something about her and her husband upon last night. Like
Right.
Right.
that's not that's not something that's gonna get shared.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just like it's all about like what you choose to share.
The thing
Absolutely.
is, though, I don't know if I believe anybody has a right to your information. Right.
Hmm.
So, yes, people can ask those questions and you choose whether or not you want to respond, but
Right.
also understand the platform that you have. So, if you do have a huge following, you have to know that those questions will come up. You have to know
Hmm.
people will be after you trying to figure out what's going on with you. So if you're not prepared to either share some things or figure out how to shut that down, then you probably need to reconsider whether or not you need a platform.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I think
Mhm.
the main thing that I see on most, larger platforms, now this is mostly influencers, not like celebrities, but the one of the most frequent comments you will see is like you're my best friend in my head, right? So
Yep.
people develop this relationship with you
Mhm.
based on your social media or your
Yep.
platform or whatever it is that you're giving out. So if you are using, Instagram, you're a blogger, Facebook, whatever, I think, like Keisha said, it's important to know how to shut that down without hurting people's feelings
Mm-hmm.
and in turn having people all over the internet talking horrible about you, right? Because it can twist so fast. It's
Yeah.
like I asked a question and then I was blocked. And then here comes cancel culture, which is what we'll be talking about after our commercial break. So you all stay tuned. We will be right back. So if you did not catch our show a couple of weeks ago, I had Courtney LaShawn on. She is the owner of Bara Naturals. It is a Christian owned CBD company, and she is very knowledgeable, um, does her research. She's a woman of God. Check it out and just see if she has something that can be helpful for you. She did offer a 15% off coupon, so now is a perfect time to check her out. So, cancel culture, right? So this is actually a topic that Lise suggested. So I thought it was perfect to discuss it tonight with her on. So for those of you who don't really know what cancel culture is, it's really, in my opinion, and I think more widely seen on the internet. Um, a few people who have been canceled recently is Bill Cosby and R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, because of all of them because of the Me Too movement.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically something that somebody does. And because of that, you know, it's just a cultural agreement kind of to shut them down, right? Give them no support, silence their voice. And it's really huge, right? Right now, it's just, it happens so fast. Um,
It
but
does.
some people are able to just, get right past it. But my question for you ladies is, what are your thoughts on cancel culture? We'll start there and then we'll go to the second part of the question. But what do you think about just totally shutting people down um, because of, I don't want to say a mistake, because in that that's not the case for everybody,
Hmm.
but because of a discrepancy, let's say that. How do y'all feel about that?
I hate cancel culture. I just feel like it is not, you're right. Like, how
Hmm.
can you, a person with flaws who falls short every day, cancel someone else who fell
Hmm.
short or who did something wrong? It's
Sure.
one thing to like say, okay, this person will not get my support, they will not get my coins, I'm not giving them my attention, my time. But it's another thing to cause like an uproar
Hmm.
within society and say, this person, we are putting an X on their forehead, we are giving them the scarlet letter, like we are done with them, away with them, they can like people do a lot with cancel culture, and I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Mm.
Yeah, Keisha, Jada, what do y'all think?
It's so tricky because yes, I agree with that 100%. Like, we are all flawed and we're all going to make mistakes. And fortunately, some of our mistakes just aren't put on blast. So we get to get
Right.
away with it.
Hmm.
So, and I can honestly say I've never actively participated in any cancel culture. However, I do kind of understand the motive behind it in some cases because
Hmm.
things tend to happen when you have the numbers attached to it. And
Sure.
if it's a person that's consistently, because what I have seen too in a lot of cases, it's someone consistently bringing harm on a specific group of people.
Hmm.
So I get the reason why people want to make that known and like don't support this person because they don't mean X people will. So I get that. And I even like having that knowledge. Like if somebody specifically is anti black people, like I want to know
Hmm.
that if I'm putting my money into their business or something.
Sure.
So for that, I understand it. But also just being a Christian, it's like I have no room to judge this person. So I get the
Absolutely.
understanding behind it. But at the same time, I know if like all of our flaws were broadcasted, all of our
Yes,
mistakes were broadcasted, we'd all probably be canceled.
Right.
exactly. Exactly right. Jada, what do you
So,
think about it?
I definitely agree with what Keisha said because of the fact that it is very tricky. And I think about it from a Christian aspect
Hmm.
because if all of if everything we did wrong was like aired out tomorrow, we would
Right.
all just we would not we would not have no type of platform. We would just be like these hated people that did
Hmm.
all these horrible things. And
Sure.
then
yeah,
I also think about what Lee said, but then it's like, how can you, who are also flawed, how can you cancel someone else who fell short?
right.
But I think about people like Tory Lanez, like the incident with Megan the
Ugh.
like that incident right there. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't keep up with celebrity like drama
Sure.
and gossip and stuff like that. But when
Yeah,
I was reading about it and they say that it was a true event, like he really shot her in the foot.
right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was just like, wow, so y'all really canceled Tory Lanez. Like, just that's just the end of his career, basically.
But you
Like,
know what's unique in that situation too? I think it also matters how the person responds to it. Like if
right,
you know you had
Hmm.
no reason to shoot this woman in the foot or to be shooting her at all, shooting at her,
Right.
that it shouldn't have
yeah.
escalated to that. So to approach it and be apologetic probably would have been a better response, but he didn't do that.
And
I
then
So
it's
think
like,
I
I'm
think
sorry,
what
Go
I'm
ahead,
really
please.
sorry.
It's okay. I think what really offends me or like makes me sad about cancel culture is just the fact that all these people are coming against one person.
Yeah.
And
It's like
like
ganging up
the
on somebody,
bullying,
right?
exactly, like ganging up on somebody. Like, God forbid the person you're ganging up on feels like this is too overwhelming for them, and now they have thoughts of committing suicide. Like that
Right.
Hmm.
that's the thing that really gets me. It's like I just won't take part in it. I remember another celebrity, she's on social media. Her name is B Simone. She made like
Hmm.
this affirmation positive journal thing, but
Hmm.
all of the affirmations and stuff that she put in the book, she got that she got them from Pinterest. So she
Hmm.
didn't create them herself. She just put them all together and made millions of dollars.
Sure.
And they dragged that girl, her filth. And I was just like, can we just acknowledge that this was not the route she should have taken,
Right.
give her
Right.
some direction, and just move past it? Like, we do not need to drag her like this.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
can we just acknowledge that she was like at least trying to do something positive for the people? Like, that's the way I think about it. Because
Hmm.
it's just like it's not about like where did you get this from, or where did you get this from, or did you create this yourself? It's all
Right.
about how
Her
you can.
intentions were good.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
like it's
Right.
all about how you can impact a particular person from what you put out there. Because like 9 times out of 10, a lot of us as influencers or celebrities, we don't we don't think of everything. We go on certain websites and certain
And
pages and get a little something
inspiration, right?
inspiration,
Yeah.
inspirational quotes from Pinterest and some people, and
For
like
sure.
the way you the way you apply that to your own self and the way you make people apply it to themselves, that's what really is important. And I think like cancel culture makes me just like want to look at certain celebrities and just be like, did you really have to do this? Like I think about Art Kelly, like, did you did you really
Right.
have to do this? Like, did you have to do all of this? And
That's
that
where
was
it's
Right.
tricky.
Yes, that was like going on for so long. And there were documentaries about it, there were stories about it, different people's
Hmm.
opinions about it. Women were finally coming out with their stories, and it was just like R. Kelly's,
It's just a lot.
it was like he's
It's
done.
just a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, like, and I just feel that as a person, you can't try to basically shut up someone else when they made a mistake when you've made more mistakes than they have, especially
Mhm.
when it's like how Lee said, like a whole gang of people on
Right.
Hmm.
one
Ganging
person.
up on this one person.
But
Like
see,
Yeah.
I think
Go
the
ahead, Keisha.
difference in that though is a mistake and then a habit, right?
Hmm.
In B. Simone's case, that was absolutely a mistake. And this is also me still in a great, like, I've never actively participated in any cancel culture, and I've already kind of
Yeah.
expressed how I feel about it. But, like, you have B. Simone on one end, and then the other hand, you do have R. Kelly, who I actually grew up off of. I live in Chicago. Like, R. Kelly, that music
Chi-town.
child, I mean, from being little to an adult, okay, it's good stuff. But it started so long ago with him just being with younger women and taking advantage of them. And I know
Hmm.
people that told me like, oh, he used to be at my high school all the time. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's a mistake on one end, and the other it's
And then it's
just
a
a
habit.
habit that's not okay.
Absolutely.
And
like
that was,
basically intentional.
yeah,
Right.
and that was
Right. It's
tough because
not a
I'm like,
mistake
dang, he
anymore.
still got good songs to, I mean,
So
good
it's a
songs.
struggle, right? If we can be honest, it's a struggle. And one of our viewers, I was about to bring this up. I don't want to butcher your name, but
Saria. It's Saria.
Saria. Okay, Saria says that's true. But I do think it's different for pedophiles and rapists. And
For
I'm
sure.
glad that she brought that up because my question to you all before we went to whether or not cancel culture belongs in the church, um, if somebody, I'm going to use Bill Cosby as an example. I do not agree. Let me make that abundantly clear. I do not think he's innocent because, first of all, I wasn't there. I do not stand and say that any of these women who came out are liars. That is not at all my goal here to, prove him innocent. But my question is, when something like this comes out, does this erase anything that they've done for society, for the culture, for their race? Like, he did a lot, for African Americans, just in the part of showing an African American family that wasn't struggling, with the doctor as a dad and a lawyer as the mom. And he had to go through, all these networks who were telling him that this is not a reality and this is not something that we want to show because Black people can't relate to this, right? And
Yeah.
then he was responsible for pioneering um, the first ever show that showed a Black college experience. And you'll see and hear a lot of people say, I wanted to go to an HBCU or I wanted to go to college, period, because I watched a different world. And, there are other things and accomplishments, but does his foolishness and, I mean, we can call it a whole lot of things, but does that erase what he did for society? What do y'all think?
So I think Bill's situation is unique as well, and I think,
Hmm.
and I only say that because I think it is, if I understand his story correctly, the way that I receive it, it's a matter of sowing and reaping. I think he
Hmm.
did what he did and then had a moment where a lot of that shifted for him. And then he
Okay.
started to produce things um to be good and have an
Hmm.
impactful influence on people. And he had already had to suffer through a lot of losses too. And he was very intentional
Hmm.
about his pouring and what he communicated to people and giving Black people a vision to a different type of world.
Hmm.
Not to use the show name, but it is what it
Right.
is. Just so we can have more insight into a different life than we probably had seen just in our
Hmm.
own communities. And it just
Sure.
so happened that decades later, I mean, this man old in prison.
Yes.
So I'm sure he thought he had already like paid his debts, felt remorseful
Hmm.
for that, and then tried to do some good. And it just so happened that a lot of the seeds that we plant, regardless, that harvest season is gonna come.
That's
So in
absolutely
that
right.
case, I and it's weird because I also don't know anybody that was a victim of his, and I'm obviously not one. So I understand somebody actually being in that situation feeling completely different. I'm not
Hmm.
lost to that. But at the same time, he did so much for the Black community that
Hmm.
even if we wanted to just kind of make that go away, we couldn't because it was so
Mhm.
impactful.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like
Jada, Lise, what do y'all think
I
about
watching
that? Now, you all
think
are younger, I think. So his impact to you all may feel different. I know I'm the oldest one on tonight, but
I don't know.
um
We might be neck and neck.
but but about you all being a little bit younger, was the impact was the impact of what he did that impactful, for lack of a better word, to you, that you felt that it shouldn't be canceled in spite of him
it
technically
was
being canceled?
it was definitely like impactful to me when I first found out about it.
Hmm.
Because it was like I grew up watching the Bill Cosby show, and
Yeah.
then when A Different World came out, I fell in love with the shows, and I said to myself, I want to go to HBCU. Like I want to go to
Mhm.
this type of college. Like I felt like his shows, like they gave African Americans like hope that okay, like you
Hmm.
can do this. And the fact that he inspired a lot of people, particularly people of our color. He
Yeah.
inspired a lot of us to believe that no matter what race you are, like you can still live this lifestyle. You
Hmm.
can still be successful in what you're doing or what you want to do. And a part of me felt like it was wrong because it was just like, okay, you just go cancel Bill Cosby like this? Like, do you
Right.
realize the impact he has had
Right.
on younger kids growing up and like
Hmm.
older teenagers and making like actual lifestyle decisions based on what he has broadcasted to the world?
Right.
And but I do agree with what Keisha was saying. Like when you plant those seeds way back, like they go harvest into something way bigger when you least expect it. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like a what and what. Like it's real tricky. Like how we talked about, it's really tricky. So
Yeah. Lise, do you think that somebody's impact is canceled once they're technically canceled?
I from what I so I he didn't impact my life per se, but from what I have seen in the people that were impacted by him, they definitely did discredit everything he did.
Hmm.
They definitely did do away with the Cosby Show. I don't even think they aired on TV anymore.
Right.
Um, but I think that they found a way to discredit what he did, but still enjoy things that came from what he did.
Hmm.
Like we're not talking about Bill Cosby, we're not watching the Cosby Show, but we will watch A Different World, and we will talk about things that he talked showed on the show or things like that, but we're
Right.
not giving him any credit.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the
Go ahead,
tricky part
Kisha.
about cancel culture. Like,
Right.
so now it's just subjective. It's whatever I feel like. I don't want to see your
Right.
name today. I don't want to see your
Exactly.
face. So it
like
doesn't.
And that's the
I'm just
thing.
gonna not
Like,
listen to your music anymore.
that's the thing, because when
Right.
people were saying that they were canceling R. Kelly, there was like a B2K concert or whatever, that was a tour that was going on. And he produced like so much of their music. So I'm this type of person. If I'm giving up his music just because it's his voice,
Hmm.
then am I really committed to the cause? Like, I need to
Right.
give up any and every song that he has credits on, that he produced. And let me just tell
There's a
you,
lot.
for me, that's gonna pretty much kill my library. You know what I'm saying? My iTunes would be very dry
Look.
without, anything that R. Kelly contributed to. But at what point, it just gets, there's such a gray area. So I
Right.
guess it's for each his own. But even if the person is canceled, and I know that this sounds crazy, I don't think, if they did something positive, I mean, if it helped somebody, I don't think we should cancel that part. I don't know how you separate it, but I
Yeah.
just feel like, if they helped people or are helping people, it, it's tricky, because like Keisha said, I'm not lost on people, who are affected, being triggered, just by turning on the television and seeing his name or
Hmm.
whatever. So I'm not going to make it seem like people don't have issues with that. But I just think it's a tough subject. But let's
It
move
is.
on to whether or not cancel culture has a place in church. Now, I know you ladies are not really on the side of cancel culture, but I guess my question is this: as Christians, cancel culture shouldn't even really be a thing, right? Because grace is something that has been
Come on.
extended to us,
Yes.
and something that we in turn must extend to others. But does the repeat offender sometimes in church get too many passes? Like, are there people, and I won't name anybody in particular, you know, nobody that anybody knows, but let's say John Gray. I just pulled that name, you know, out of thin air. Is there a chance that we give too many chances sometimes, or we give chances without rehabilitation, or we give chances without responsibility or accountability? I think that we see that in the church.
Mm.
And how do we fix that part of it?
I definitely think that we give chances without accountability.
Hmm.
And I think that no, we don't need cancel culture in the church, but we do need people to be accountable for their actions. And we
Yes.
do need to make sure that if something was done that should not have been done, that they're like, let's work on that. Like maybe you're
Hmm.
not going to run up to the pulpit and go sit on your seat. Maybe you're going to sit at the altar for the next 6 months and pray about it and work through
Yeah.
that on your own.
Absolutely. Jada, Keisha, what do you all think?
I agree with Lisa. I think it's similar to family. You know how in black families specifically we always have that uncle or somebody that you can't give a hug to or something. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it shouldn't just be a thing that we know about that we don't actually talk about and then develop a process for. So I think that
Right.
same thing should be applied to the church. Yes, again, we're all flawed and need grace. But and then especially if you're in a leadership position at the church, take a moment,
Right.
get that thing addressed. Okay.
Absolutely.
Figure
That's
that
me.
out.
Absolutely.
That's me.
Jada, what do you say?
I definitely agree with what Lise and Keisha said because I on like this is coming from a person that grew up in the church. Like I grew
Hmm.
up in the church. And I have seen where basically like you give these chance after chance after chance, and it's just like, okay, when are you gonna hold these people accountable? Because I
Never.
mean, at this point, like I'm just keeping it real. Like I get that this person may be good at this and they may be good at that, and you just want to keep the flow going, but just as well as God gives us grace, like you have to give yourself some type of grace and say, hey, like I need to really like make this person step down for a while and just like reset themselves because
Sure.
this is not right. Like the church is supposed to be ran in decency and in order and in a
Right.
spirit of excellence.
Right.
Anytime you do not have the spirit of excellence ran in your church, like that's a problem. And I know when I see stuff like that, it really bugs me because it's like, okay, if you have this leadership role, why aren't you being a leader
Come
to
on.
why aren't you being a leader to your flock? Like, and I guess the main question is like, are you in this position because you want to be high and mighty, like AKA you want it for the clout? Or are you in this
Right.
position because are you really gonna do what God is telling you to do? Because yes, God gives us a lot of grace. He gives
Hmm.
us a lot of favor, and he also gives us certain assignments and what we are called to do. But when we are called to these assignments, especially if they require us to have a flock of people around us, a body of people, we have to same way hold those people accountable. I think
Yeah.
about it the way God holds us accountable. I feel like God
Absolutely.
holds us accountable for a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah. And
we may not see it right then and there, but like probably a week or two down the line, we could be like, okay, like I see God, like you got me together with that.
right. And more
Like I get
often
what
than
you're saying.
not, when Jesus was healing, right, people or forgiving people, often he said, go and sin no more. He didn't say, go and continue the life that you were living and holla at me next week to forgive you again, right?
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
there has to be a change. There has to be a renewing of the mind. We
Yeah.
can't just stay in that same vein and expect people to just receive that. And one of our
Right.
guests, Robbie, he said, why shouldn't we repeatedly extend grace? God does it for all of us, leader or no leader. God loves and forgives. So we should forgive and love like God does. Not saying that they should not be held accountable for their actions. And I agree with that.
Right.
I don't suggest that we shouldn't continue to extend grace. I just think when we extend it and there's no responsibility,
For your
behind it,
actions, yeah.
I don't expect, and I mean, honestly, if you get up 3 times, if my pastor gets up in front of the church 3 times and says, I cheated on my wife, well, first of all, I'm going to have an issue because it's my mama. But if you get up and say, I cheated on my wife 3 times, I'm going to be like, can you choose a new struggle? Like, can you get one area of your life under control? Who in your life do you call pastor? And
Right.
Right.
why is this person not holding you accountable? Because if you're a pastor of a church, and see, that's another problem with celebrity preachers, right? And
You don't have
celebrity
any
pastors,
fathers.
they feel like they're above that. So they feel like they don't have anybody to answer to. And they're above I don't want to say judgment, but they're above reproach. So they get this big head and this ego and they do whatever they want to do. And I mean, just to stick with the example earlier, the last time that John Gray had a discrepancy, this video came out with Bishop Jakes praying for him and doing this whole thing. Now, I don't know Bishop Jakes and I don't know John Gray, but for a couple months later, you to have another issue, do I believe that that was even sincere? I don't know. And I'm not trying to judge that. So don't get me wrong
Right.
because I wasn't
What
there.
happened
I don't know the
after
heart. Right. I don't know the heart of the person, but Bishop Jakes went through this whole thing. It was recorded. He was laying hands on them and saying what needed to happen in restoration and all that. And I agree. But if
Hmm.
6 months later you done went and done this again, come on now.
Right.
I'm gonna need
And
Like
I
I
don't
think
know.
I
I think the
need
thing with that,
something.
it doesn't make him less of a leader.
Hmm.
It's just a little bit more discipline that needs to be there. Because I think
Yeah,
oftentimes too with pastors, especially if they're like they have a larger platform, then they're viewed as being flawless, like they need to be perfect, and we know that none of us again are, but
sure.
also there is a different level of responsibility, I imagine, when you're
Absolutely.
leading souls, when you're
Yeah.
gathering souls. So if you know you still have this struggle that's going on, then as a leader in holding yourself accountable and being disciplined, you do need to like, okay, what actionable steps do I need to put into place, even if
That
that
part.
means stepping down temporarily
Sure.
Right.
until I get this together.
Yeah,
This
and
makes
be
me
honest.
think of an article that I read. It was about I think this female pastor, she got pregnant and
Hmm.
she was not married, and people were like arguing on whether or not she should step down. And it's like, are we reading the Bible? Are we going by the Bible, or are we not?
And I think the thing is everyone pretty much has a different guideline, right? Like it's
Hmm.
like we're all reading the same Bible, but everybody it's not for some people it's not objective, right? It's subjective. So I can decide what is my truth and I can decide how to apply that truth. That is why
Hmm.
we need people in our lives to hold us accountable and responsible to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And not that anybody in the church or anywhere for that matter should be canceled as much as we need to help one another, right?
Right.
And we
Yeah.
need to, whatever it takes for a person to say, I need help. The higher you
Right.
get, right? Like Keisha was saying, the higher you get, it's harder, right? If you're a pastor of a church, it's harder to say, I struggle with alcoholism or I struggle with porn or I struggle with sex or with drugs or whatever, fill in the blank. But that's really what we're here for, right?
Hmm.
So I have a lot more respect for the person who comes out and says, listen, I'm struggling. I need help. I'm going to get the help that I need.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
however long it takes, I'm going to do the work,
Hmm.
right? Than for somebody who steadily gets caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Because at that point, I
Yeah.
feel like you don't care,
Yeah.
you
Mm.
know? So,
Right.
whew, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on to our next topic. But right before that, we're going to take a quick breather. And right after our commercial break, we're coming right back. Stay tuned. So, guys, Peaks Candles is Keisha's brand. So, the holidays are coming up. Check her out. Get some for you, get some for your family, friends, and all that. Fall scents are now in stock. So, check her out. Okay, so a little lighter subject as we wrap up this evening. Rihanna recently used a plus size male model in her Savage Fenty ads, and it is going like people are going crazy. I think it's cool. What do you ladies think?
I'm all for inclusivity. I'm all for showing like real bodies, real people. Like, there's no one size. We are all different. So why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Keisha,
Watching
Definitely.
Jada,
that
what do y'all
fashion
think about it?
show, watching that fashion show was like everything because I saw so many different shapes, so many different shades, and I think it was great for her to be inclusive of everyone. Like any person could have watched that and saw something for them or saw themselves
Mm-hmm.
in that. And I think
Sure.
that's so lost these days
So
that
lost.
that was such a powerful movement for her to do that.
Yeah. Jada, what do you think?
That I think like that was a very like I commend her
Mm-hmm.
for doing something like that because I feel like it also helps plus size males like come out of their insecurities
Mm-hmm.
because for the longest like plus size men have I guess how they say in our culture have really not been a thing like it's
Mm-hmm.
always been about the skinny dudes and the tall dudes and these type of certain type of
Right.
dudes like I see no type of discrimination in your size. Like my husband is plus size, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like my friend. I call
Yeah.
him my teddy bear, and it's just like seeing that like really not only encouraged me, but it also helped me reach a certain point to where like okay, you are who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And basically nobody can change who you are, whether that's skinny, whether that's plus size, whether it's thick, whatever size you are. Like you basically are who God created you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she set that type of example, I just feel like that's going to open a lot of doors for plus size males like in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was kind of glad I had all women on because my thought when I saw it was, oh, this is great, right? And then I started seeing all these ads and everything and everybody praising Rihanna and, much deserved. But it did make me think about how, okay, I didn't see anything negative about this. I don't know if you all did, but I didn't see anything negative about this, which is great. But I feel like women still struggle with, I mean, plus size women and models are a thing, right, Jada? But I
Yeah.
still feel like, we see, I guess, mainstream because, if you look in a men's magazine or a catalog, you're going to see all sizes of men, right? I used to work at a men's
Mhm.
shirt store and they had all shapes and sizes. But something like, on this platform, I feel
Yeah.
like women still are fighting for all the
Yeah.
love. Like, where is the love
Yeah.
for the big ladies? I'm
Yeah.
more than happy that the men, are getting this love. They deserve it. It should be happening. It should have been happening. But
Mm-hmm.
what is the discrepancy, do you all think?
Right. Right.
People are willing to accept seeing a larger man, but not a larger woman,
Right.
especially with all the changes that we go through, right? We have
Right.
children
Look,
and we stress eat for people like me. You know what I'm saying?
look.
In having children, there are other things
Okay.
that causes our
Right.
bodies to change. And
Right.
it just seems like it's so hard to get society to accept women. And what do you all think? What is the deal?
I think
Right.
that falls to a very old stereotype that, although isn't talked about as often, people still operate from that mindset, and that's
Mhm.
women living up to this standard of beauty who we don't even know made it up. So
Right.
it's just us really having to appeal to people with our appearance and in the ideal that they see that we should look like. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter whether or not in real life when you walk around we are all in different shapes and sizes.
Right.
It's just like what we see is being put up on the platform, and as a woman we need to live up to what that looks like and always
Mhm.
present ourselves and look like whatever beauty standard is fed to us.
And
That's
that's a
right.
good point, Keisha. I didn't even think about the beauty standard being the measuring stick for women.
Mm-hmm.
as I think just people are a little more lenient when it comes to men. You know, there's
For
not this
sure.
strict beauty standard for men, or I guess I shouldn't say beauty standard, but body standard or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you know. And women is just, you know, they're a little harder on us. Lise, Keisha, Jada, do y'all want to chime in on this?
I
I'm
would.
thinking about it and I'm like, even though there is a plus size modeling industry, plus size in the modeling world is like a size 8 or a size
Right?
10. And that's not even plus size.
That's not plus size.
So I think
That's
that it's
normal size, right?
exactly that. I think that it's just about self confidence at this point because we can't wait for society to tell us what looks good or what doesn't.
Yeah.
Feeling good wherever you're at.
That's
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Jada?
I definitely agree with that because wherever we go, we're gonna see all types of shapes and sizes, and some days it's like very discouraging. I can tell that it's very discouraging to women that this platform is raised so high that, like Keisha said, this is what beauty has to look like, or this is what
Mhm.
size has to look like. And I can really kind of relate a lot to this as far as like being wanting to be a model when I was younger. I wanted to be a model when I was younger, and I went there, I applied and I auditioned, and it was kind of like when they figured out my size, they basically gave me two options. They said, okay, you have to go on this diet or you're not going to be going to the next step. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, what does my size like have to do with the clothes that I'm gonna wear?
Right.
Right.
So I think about platforms like Victoria's Secret.
Mhm.
Like Victoria's Secret for the longest has put on this high profile platform of women being petite and small to basically wear their clothes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like, okay, Victoria's Secret, like, where the plus size women at? Like,
Right.
where are some pictures of them? And I think that's one of another reason why I love Fashion Nova, because Fashion
Yeah.
Nova has this option where they call it Fashion Nova Curves, and it's
Mhm.
for plus size women.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
platforms like that, I just hope that they do create more platforms like that to basically help our women become more confident in themselves, because it can be very discouraging. Like a woman
Mm-hmm.
can, a woman can walk past Victoria's Secret and just automatically feel like, I'm too fat. I can't even wear it. I can't even, I might as well not even look at it. But no,
Right.
sis, like you beautiful, like plus size
Yeah.
and all. So it's just like how Lee said, like it's just self-confidence at this point. Like you just really gotta have your confidence high and like walk with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
And
what's so
go ahead, Keisha.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Keisha.
You know what's so interesting about all of that, and this is kind of controversial. A lot of these standards for women are set by men, and our
Mhm.
the obviously the way that we accept men is set by women, and this is because we are a little wiser. I want to say
Right.
because we understand one, it has more to a person's value isn't determined by their size. Number one,
Absolutely.
two, in the world we can see what's available and what people actually look like, whereas men,
Sure.
that's why the shape of a woman is always on trend. It's either a foreign looking woman or butts are in right now, or you
Yes.
got to be a size two. It's forever changing because men are leading a lot of these companies that set the standard of beauty, and it's just trendy. Like this year we want to like butts, so
Right.
everybody's gonna want a girl with a big old booty. Like
Right. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Like there's no way to even keep up with the way these things change, right? They
right.
change with the seasons, they change with the weather. And I am super excited to see, you know, a plus size male in, you know, this type of ad getting this type of limelight. But for women, you know, as I got a little bit older, you know, right now I could drop a few pounds, but overall, like I don't want my 21-year-old body back. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want my
Mm,
19-year-old body back. I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
on and tell my age. I'm 33. I want to
Me
look like a
too.
woman.
I knew it was in the same
Okay.
neighborhood.
So I want to look like a grown woman. So there are things that I don't even want to conform to that maybe I used to want to, but
Yeah.
still to Jada's point, there are still things that I see and I'm like, dang, I could lose the stomach and I could and I am, but that doesn't just because I'm happy with my body, that doesn't mean I'm not affected by the images,
Mm-hmm.
that I see. So ladies, we just gonna have to stay strong and believe that
Right.
we are beautiful in our skin and know that what we have to offer to the world is so much more than what we look like. Our
mm,
gold.
Yeah.
Erica Badu had a quote, and she was like, "The gold or something like that I have, that I own, is not in between my legs, it's in between my ears."
Come
So we
on.
have to know that our value is not below the waist. It's not what we look like. It's a heart of compassion. It's our intelligence. It's everything that we offer the world that makes us uniquely us, that in turn touches and helps someone else. So,
Mm-hmm.
ladies, just do you, boo.
Period.
Yes. So,
It.
ladies, we are going to take a quick commercial break. And after that, we're just going to have each of you to just share a word of encouragement with our guest and then tell everybody where they can find you and all the amazing things that you have going on. We'll be right back. So we can go in the order of introductions. If I remember, we did Lis, Jada, and Keisha, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's what we'll do for our closing. Ladies, share whatever it is that you have going on. Tell people where to find you, how they can support you, and all of that good stuff.
Sure. So you can find my blog at thelifeoflise.com. I recently launched a podcast, so you can search The Life of Lise wherever you listen to podcasts. I talk about growing and glowing and overcoming life's challenges. You can find me on Instagram at Miss Lisa Marie, and I'll be happy to connect with you.
Thank you so much
mm.
for being here. Is there anything you want to say tonight to the audience? Just a word of encouragement or anything like that?
Sure. Just to embrace your season because where you are now is only for a time. Like you
Mhm.
won't stay here and it's gonna help you to get to where you need to be. So just embrace wherever you are now.
Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you follow Lise. She is amazing blogger. She has so much going on.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
Good stuff, encouraging things. So check her
Mhm.
out. You'll be happy.
Thank you.
Jada.
Okay, hi again, everyone. You can follow me on Instagram at Jada JXN. Like I mentioned earlier, I am a upcoming faith influencer and potential blogger. Soon, I will be releasing my podcast called Blessed and Confident,
Come on,
and
podcasters.
and basically, the podcast will be about reaching the audience of my millennial women or even older women who have went through some type of traumatic events in their life and just like encouraging them through Christ and through faith. And if I had to give some type of encouragement to anyone that is on this live, I basically want you guys to keep your heads up because we are in a very difficult time right now.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, God gets the last say so. And I want you all to be encouraged and pray, keep your faith, and be confident in yourself.
Absolutely. Jada, thank you so much for being here. Make sure y'all check her out. Her and her husband do lives, and I think it's amazing. And
Thank you.
I mean, not to put you on the spot, but she's so young. Lisa's young too. So these are young women. Not that I'm old, but I can speak from a place of maturity. Um, these are young women who are doing things for Christ. Taking a bold stand, and I am extremely proud of you all, and extremely proud to be connected to you all. So make sure y'all check out Jada.
Thank you.
That's
Keisha,
great.
talk to the people. The other senior
Yeah.
on the line.
No, yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Kisha R. Reed with two E's. And my blog can be found at peakingsite.com. That's also where I have all of my candles, and you can see some of the production work that I do. Like I mentioned before, some live production as well as working on branding content. And I actually am in the process of producing a podcast that will be launching in the next couple weeks
Wonderful.
for
Y'all the
a
podcast
different
ladies.
platform. So I'll be posting that as well. Yeah, I think that's all of my information. In terms of an encouraging word, I feel like it kind of ties into what was kind of already said by Lisa and Jada, but I'd say honor your pace and
Mhm.
understand that you're valuable in spite of whatever you're doing right now, whether you're at a level one and whatever you're starting or a level two, there's always someone that needs to know and can benefit from your journey and what you've already learned. And just also know whatever you're putting your work into, you are valuable regardless of what that looks like. If you are devoting your time to it and you're working at it, that's valuable.
Absolutely. And that's so important for people to hear right now because as Jada said, as we all alluded to, it's tough right now. But we
Yeah.
have to know that we are in this space for a reason. But you all, Keisha is amazing. This is her second time on the show. And the first time she was on, I just felt a connection in our spirits. And I'm so happy to have her back. She will be back. All the ladies will be back. I'm kind of putting them on the spot right here, right now, letting y'all know that she will be everybody. Every she will be back on the show. I'm so grateful. We are already to the final week of October. I cannot believe it. Well, next week will be our final week in October, and then we'll be gearing up for the holidays. But we have some very special things planned on Churchy Chat. So I hope you continue to tune in. I appreciate your support. I know I say this every week, but I never want to take for granted the people who tune in, the people who join the conversation, people who share, like, whatever. I really appreciate you supporting my dream. It means the world to me. So I'll see you next week, right here, same place, same time on Churchy Chats with the Church Girl. Good night.